That's not normally foul.
Okay. My name is Kayla Wiggins, and this is my informative speech. My informative speech is about the NCLEX. The NCLEX exam is known as the National Counselor Licensure Examination. It's a standardized exam that each state board of nursing uses to determine if a candidate is prepared for entry-level nursing practice. It uses a computerized adaptive testing, which is technology that merges computer technology with modern measurement. It increases the efficiency of the exam process. It reduces the number of easy items that high-ability candidates receive, and it reduces the number of hard items that low-ability candidates receive. In theory, the harder the exam taker thinks the test was, the better they probably did. This is often why a lot of NCLEX passers say that the NCLEX was so hard. I had so many multiples. Every time you answer a question, the computer then selects another question from the pool that it thinks you have a 50% chance of answering correctly. This way, the next item should not be too easy or too hard. Each question you answer increases the computer's ability to estimate your ability. So now you're probably wondering how you pass the NCLEX. If it were only that easy. Unlike a normal exam, where if you answer a certain percentage of questions right, you obtain a certain score, the NCLEX uses CAT technology once again to determine if the RN will follow your name. There are multiple ways to pass and multiple ways to fail, but at the end of the day, if the computer's not 95% certain you have the ability to be an entry-level nurse, you will not pass. This does not mean that you have to answer 95% of the questions correctly, though. Theoretically, you could answer only 50% of the questions correctly and still pass the NCLEX. Name one other time in your nursing career that a 50% was good enough to pass. Everyone starts off in a neutral state, neither passing nor failing. Every time you answer a question correctly or incorrectly, it moves your position on the line. If you answer the first question incorrectly, it will move you below the line of passing and will give you a less challenging question. If you answer it correctly, you will move above the line of passing to a more difficult question. You can move between this line of passing and failing multiple times throughout the test and still be able to pass or fail. There are some rules to the NCLEX exam, like the maximum length exam rule. This rule comes into play when you've answered all 265 questions allotted by the exam, yet the computer is still unable, with 95% accuracy, to determine if you pass or fail. This rule states that if your last question was above the passing standard, you pass. If it was below the passing standard, you fail. It looks at this question and this question alone. Usually only people who are very close to the line will go all the way through the questions. There's also a run out of time rule. When you run out of time before reaching the maximum amount of items the computer has, and it's still not able to decide whether you passed or failed with a 95% certainty, then it has to use this alternate rule. If you've not answered the minimum amount of items, you fail. If you have at least answered the minimum amount of items, the computer reviews your last 60 ability estimates. If your last 60 ability estimates were above the passing standard, you pass. If your ability dropped below the passing standard, even once during the last 60 items, you fail. This does not mean you must answer the last 60 items correctly. Each ability estimate is based on all the previous items that you've answered. So now you're ready to sign up. Registering for the NCLEX can be a test in itself. The process goes a little something like this. You must submit an application to the licensure registration to the Board of Nursing where you wish to be registered. Once the board has received the required information from you and your school, they will send you an ATT, which will include your personal code to register for the NCLEX exam. You can then register with Pearson VUE to take the NCLEX. You will pick a location, time, and date of when you would like to take the NCLEX. Your ATT is good for 365 days from the time you receive it. The cost for U.S. licensure is $200. This is for the test only. There are other licensure and registration fees determined by your state board of nursing. There are no refunds given, so make sure you show up when you say, where you say, and when you say you will. The hardest part is after you take the NCLEX and waiting. Be prepared, the day of the NCLEX is the hardest part. Be prepared. Be sure to bring your photo ID and any other information that may be required. Dress comfortably. It can be a long test. Hats, scarves, gloves, and coats must be left outside the testing room. Arrive 30 minutes early. That's usually the time frame that's advised. If you are more than 30 minutes late, you will not be able to test and you will not be able to get a refund. In order to test, your photograph, signature, and palm vein scan will be obtained. You may not bring paper or writing utensils into the test. An on-screen calculator and dry erase board will be provided. You have up to 6 hours to complete the exam, including a short tutorial on taking the exam and 2 optional breaks. The breaks are scheduled for the first 2 hours into testing and at the 3.5-hour mark. Once you submit an answer, you will not be able to return to the question. At the end of the exam, you will take a short computerized survey. Once this is completed, you'll raise your hand and wait for the staff to dismiss you. After the exam comes the hard part, waiting. The official results will be made available from the Board of Nursing. Luckily for us in Ohio, the board usually is pretty quick about posting results, usually within 24 to 72 hours. If you pass, congratulations, you're now an RN. If you fail, remember, it's not the end of the world. You are able to retake the exam after a 45-day waiting period. The NCLEX is an incredibly hard test, but most can agree that you would not want just anyone taking care of your family or your children. The NCLEX keeps patients and nurses safe, and because of that, it's a necessary evil. Thank you.